everyone, this is Peak Entertainment and we're back again. I'm going to talk Batwoman now, and following the recent news that the lead actress Ruby Roll, who played the character Kate Kane, was going to be resigning from the role, she was leaving the show, it has now been announced that the character Kate Kane will actually be replaced with a new character. So they're doing away with the whole characterization of Kate Kane, who was the original character from the comics. It's been announced various articles, and again, when I make these videos I normally check to make sure that the news is genuine before making the video, but apparently it's true, as unlikely as it is. And again, I don't even think this has been precedented before, or not very often within television shows, certainly in recent years, but apparently so, that Kate Kane will no longer be the lead character within the show, and she's going to be replaced by a new character called Ryan Wilder. And I don't believe that this is a character within any of the source material, so this will be a completely new created character from the showrunners on here. So that, again, that's a novelty in itself, to have a new character created for a lead show that's connected to a major IP, being Batman, of course, instead of in the source material actual mythology, to create a new character who's going to be the lead titular character of the actual show. So according to various articles and reports, the character Ryan Wilder is going to be as follows. She's going to be likeable, messy, a little goofy. She spent a couple of years as a drug runner, but now she's been reformed and sober for a while now. She lives in a van with a plant. She's highly skilled and wildly disciplined. She's lesbian, athletic, raw, passionate, fallible, not stereotypical all-American hero. So that's quite the mix, if I'm going to say. That's quite the unique kind of brand that they've set, the unique kind of criteria for this new lead character to take over from the show. So I'm just going to talk quickly about the thoughts about this and the good and bad aspects, because I think there's both elements going towards this recently announcement. So I think what's good about it, so we all know the issues that Batwoman's had, from the marketing to the outrage over the Ruby Rose casting, to the negative critical reception, to the kind of decline in ratings experience. I mean, we've done multiple videos on this already, and so have other people on YouTube. So I think by having this new casting, it can give the show a fresh take, a fresh direction, a fresh configuration, if you like, because it's going to, because you're going with a new lead character. So it changes really the whole dynamic and the whole mythology of the entire show. So this might be a good chance for the writers, because to create new stories and set the series on a new different direction. I mentioned multiple times in my own series review and finale review that I think one of the major issues of Batwoman was the lack of creativity, was the lack of imagination in terms of exploring the Batman mythos and exploring these characters and making Batwoman a truly distinctive character. So by setting this new character, it may actually just give the show a shot on the arm that is actually needed. You know, it give it a freshness, and it will, in many ways it will give them a chance to kind of start again. So when you have that, the writers kind of will feel more free, and maybe that will give them that creative energy, that creative spark to create better villains, which is why I again recommended that the show needed just more threats, just more developed characters, more developed antagonists for Batwoman to take, and maybe they can make Batwoman a much more of a distinguishable character, distinguishable hero that makes much more of an impression when she appears on screen. So that's kind of the main advantage, if you like, of starting a new character. Again, it just opens the doors, creativity. But there are going to be issues. Now, it's just going to be very problematic, because essentially you're starting again all the kind of story beats and elements and story arcs that were developed throughout season one, and there was potentially good elements there. Like I said, the show wasn't a complete write-off, not in my opinion. I know it was for a lot of other people, but I've always said that Batwoman had potential if it just built on the kind of foundation that it set with its story. Okay, but now you're dealing with a new character, a new lead character, so all of those elements you have to deal away with now. Right, this is essentially going to be not season 2, but basically season 1 again, right? All of the connections that Kate had, in particular with Alice, You know, the whole fact that they're sisters, and there was always this kind of back and forth. Alice started off as a villain, but then we had this whole kind of redemptive story as Kate was trying to build a connection with her, and then Alice would overstep the mark, and then Kate would apprehend Alice, send her to Arkham, and then of course Alice wants to get revenge. So there was at least some sort of compelling aspect to that story. You wanted to see where that narrative was heading. That's all gone now, right? No Kate, then you really are kind of eliminating the role of Alice, because in the good and the bad way, what was good about it was Alice was a much more substantial character because she was a much more developed character. Because as I said before, there was just always back and forth with Kate. But if you take away Kate, that's gone now. So Alice is just a standard villain now, with no motivation because Kate isn't there anymore. Okay? Now people might say, well, she still wants to get back at Jacob, but they've kind of explored that already. And there was even moments when her and Jacob seemed that they could get some sort of reconciliation going on, but that's kind of been thrown away now. So there's no more motivation for Alice. There's no more kind of presence if she can have, rather than just being the standard villain that Batwoman has to go and apprehend. Ryan Wilder, as far as I know, and again, we don't know where the writers are going to take it, but as far as we know, it's going to have no kind of family relation or connection to Alice. So it's basically going to be a straightforward hero against a straightforward villain. Okay, so all of the interesting aspects and the chemistry that you had between Alice and Ruby, that's now gone now. So you kind of think, well, it renders Alice's role useless, really, because as I said before, she's just going to be a standard villain. You know, the connection with Luke, okay, I suppose Luke's role is still necessary, if you like, because Ryan Wilder is somehow going to have to come across the Wayne Enterprises, the Bat costume. You know, I can't envisage a scenario where the Bat costume is just going to be left around somewhere and Ryan Wilder's going to pick it up and start mastering it. She's still going to have to go to the Batcave, learn to use other weapons and the skill sets and the technology surrounding her. So she's going to have to get used to all the gadgetry involved. So Luke's role is still necessary, but then you think of other like Mary. I mean, again, her main connection was with Ruby, and again, they were developing that chemistry quite well between Mary and Kate, if you like, and Luke. There was a kind of a bit of a nice chemistry going on between the three of them, the kind of team Batwoman, if you like. Well, that's kind of gone again now. She's got no connection now following Kate's departure, and again, we don't know how Kate is gonna or how they're gonna write the character out of the show. But again, that dynamic is kind of lost. Now, you can still involve Jacob, I suppose, in the role because he's still going to be leader of the Crows. You're still going to have crime within Gotham, and the Crows, the security firm, they're still going to be out there combating the crime. So, as the leader of that operation, Jake can still be involved. Sophie could still be involved as a kind of second in command or one of the lead commanders in there. But again, her story was primarily involving her backstory, her on-off romance with Kate, and they were building, of course, the kind of particular love triangle with Pennyworth as well, right? So that's gone as well, right? So Julia now's role, I mean, she could still be involved, I suppose, but again, it just renders her useless because the love triangle that they were setting up is gone as well. So where can you really take a lot of? It's going to eliminate a lot of these characters. Okay, now if this happened, let's say halfway through season one, and they knew that Ruby Rose was leaving, and they made the conscious decision to write Kate Kane's character out for season two, then if you're filming halfway through, then you can take the necessary steps and write certain characters out you want to leave, and then keep certain characters you want to go in, and then going into season two, everything's going to kind of have a more natural progression. We won't be spending all the time wondering where this character's gone, where this other character has disappeared. Okay, but they don't have that kind of luxury. They are literally, it's going to be a literally reboot. It's gonna, you know, a lot of these characters are going to have to be phased out, and the disadvantage here is that it's going to burden season two with a lot of exposition. Now, whenever you're doing a new character of any new show, what you want to do is primarily just jump into the origin and get to the new character straight away and get to know what they're about, what's their personality, and they can still do this with Ryan Wilder, of course, but there's going to be a stage presumably early on within season 2, where they're going to have to ask, or answer rather, where's this character been, where's Kate, and how that's going to affect the whole mythology, right? They're going to have to do that, because viewers who looked the show and had an attachment to Kate are going to want to know those questions, right? Now, one thing they could do is they could essentially time jump, maybe 2 years, 3 years in the future, and just basically say Kate has disappeared or Kate was murdered. Again, if they go down the murdered route, again, they're going to have to explain that. So it's still going to leave that problem, right? Even if you do time jump, you're still going to have some explanation as to what's happened to Kate, because she's had that, big connection with Luke and the whole development of going into the Batwoman character. So they're going to have to explain that regardless of what they do. So really, I'm quite surprised, because okay, we knew Ruby Rose was leaving, but people thought that would be an issue. But I thought if you can just get an actress who can be an improvement on Ruby Rose's performance, and maybe she has a similar look to Ruby in the beginning, and then as the season goes on, she can kind of develop her own personality, develop her own look, viewers would get used to it and kind of move on with the new actor. Now, we have had precedents before, and I know it's not quite the same scenario, but of course, if anybody who watched Spartacus, spoilers if you haven't, by the way, but we had the unfortunate passing of Andy Whitfield after season 1 Blood and Sand, and he got replaced in season 2 by Liam McIntyre. And even now, watching it multiple times, the second season of Spartacus Vengeance, at the beginning it's a bit jarring making that transition from Andy to Liam, but after a while you get used to it, and then you get to enjoy the second season. Now, that was down to a good performance from Liam McIntyre and the fact that Spartacus was already a well received and really well developed and written show. Okay, so it was a lot easier to roll with it. But this kind of gives Batwoman another issue to deal with, along with the, like I said before, the writing issues and lack of creativity and imagination. Now they've got this extra exposition they've got to go through in explaining where Kate's absence is. So to me, I just think it's a hindrance of the show. Now, I'm not trying to be pessimistic and say that they can't overcome this. If they get the lead actress to perform really well, and Ryan Wilder is a really good character that viewers can take to straight away, then maybe it will work. And hopefully now they'll learn from the mistakes of season 1 in terms of the marketing and promoting, as I mentioned before in my season review. Hopefully now they won't go down the route now of trying to go for the kind of woke, provocative marketing, and they can just show Ryan Wilder as she is, and the fact that she's got some hidden skills. I mean, the kind of setup that they've given him isn't really convincing. She was a former drug runner, but she's been sober, but she's highly skilled and wildly disciplined. That's a bit kind of stretching credibility a bit. At least with Kate, she had kind of had years and years training in the military and the academy, so it made more sense of her having a kind of fighting skill. So they're going to have to do a bit of work if that's the original setup of the character, and making us believe that she's capable enough to assume the mantle of protecting Gotham as Batwoman. So they've got a lot of work there in terms of the writing with this new character. I'm not saying it won't work, but I just think, in my opinion, it just presents another problem, another issue that I don't think they needed to give themselves. I don't see what was wrong with just recasting an actress as Kate Kane. I can't see what other issues, again, with good writing, as long as season 2 had a good enough story, you could have kept the whole long narrative with Alice and the revenge storyline. You could have kept that going for a bit longer. And of course now I suppose they have to scrap the cliffhanger of Hush having the identity of Bruce Wayne, because again, Ryan Wilder, as far as I know, is not going to have any kind of family connection to Bruce Wayne. So what would be the point in continuing with the Hush storyline, right? It's not going to have the same impact as what it had when Kate came, right? Because that would be a big moment, Kate seeing Bruce again, and you'd have the whole emotional weight of that reconciliation between the two. Well, all that's gone now, so what's the point, right? So, not saying the show is dead, and I still think, yes, they can still do season 2, but I just think I don't think this is the best decision to make. I just think it gives the shows more issues and more problems. So like now, they do have time, and maybe over the course of time, people just get used to the idea. And again, it's all key about who they cast in the role and how well they develop the character. So yeah, this is maybe, if you like, a second shot at beginning the show again. I don't really now look at Batwoman as being season two. I look at kind of a season one reboot, really, with a new character involved. That's how I see it now, and it will just be interesting to see how they can continue. Because remember now, they, with Ruby Rose leaving, they can't use any footage previously of Ruby's involvement in the kind of crossovers, right? Well, that goes double now. They can't even say Kate was involved with any of the characters within the crossovers. Particularly, I know they were trying to build a good, strong relationship between Batwoman and Supergirl, right? The kind of female equivalent of the world's finest, right? Well, that's all gone now, right? With Kate phased out the way, what are they going to do? What are they going to do about the kryptonite that Kate was keeping in safe hands just in case Supergirl went rogue again? What are they going to do about all of that, right? So it's, again, it's just a lot of needless explanation, and I think they just didn't need to give themselves, and I just think they should have just stuck with the same character, put a new lead actress in the role, and just continued from there. But we'll wait and see what happens, and I hope they can kind of make it work. I'm not trying to work against the show. Like I said, okay, maybe I maybe gave a negative review of the show, but I still think there's enough potential for them to turn it around. But me personally, I wouldn't advise this the best way to go. So those are my thoughts on the kind of replacement of Kate Kane for Batwoman season two. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think that they should have gone back and just recast Kate Kane in the role? That would have made it a lot easier making that transition following Ruby Rose's departure. Or do you think this is a better idea, starting now complete fresh, which is essentially a reboot of the show, and they can just start again and kind of ensure that they can have a stronger show with stronger ratings and a stronger positive reaction amongst fans and critics alike? But those are my thoughts on the news of Batwoman replacing Kate Kane as a character. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Please like and subscribe and help me grow this channel. But that's my thoughts for now. Take care of yourselves, stay at safe distances, and I will see you very, very soon.